This week on the video version of the Business of Tech, new data on the work of work, including delays from big tech companies. Let's talk about that AWS outage, Microsoft's price increase, an IT services review of the jobs report, and U.S. Cyber Command acknowledges military action on ransomware. All this and more, hit those like and subscribe buttons, and here are this week's stories. Researchers at Ingram Micro Cloud have highlighted three big trends in their second annual Industry Research and Analysis report, the 2021 State of the Channel. They focus on three trends. First, a requirement to, quote, power and protect the work-from-home experience. End customers will require strategies and technologies that keep their employees happy and productive, while also safeguarding a security perimeter redefined by remote work. The second is for partners to evolve beyond the role of the IT guy. The modern service provider will become a channel-first experience builder, a specialized strategic partner, and an ecosystem driver. Finally, the top three cloud providers are increasing their stakes in the channel, making providers more critical, and also requiring MSPs to participate in partner certification programs offered by big cloud players. The report cites several stats of note. First, a claim that the 20% at the top of MSPs will command 80% of the market revenue gains during and after the pandemic. 42.8% of the American workforce is now fully remote, and 90% of B2B decision makers predict that the remote model will persist going forward. Ready for a bit of confusing news as related to that first trend? Google on Thursday pushed back indefinitely their reopening of offices, and Twitter is reopening its San Francisco and New York offices today. The key difference? The Google position is about workers in the office as an expectation, and Twitter is about facilities, as returning to the office is simply an option. Proof of vaccination is required to enter a Twitter office. Why do we care? I slipped that uncertainty in to link the current state of play with the trend. The reality on the ground doesn't indicate that the future is a rush back to the office. Twitter's approach of giving control to employees while offering facilities for those that want them just seems directionally smart. Ingram's research shouldn't be groundbreaking for longtime listeners. Cloud, dispersal of work, and moving beyond just IT. Familiar trends. That note of 20% of the MSPs commanding 80% of revenue gains speaks to a have and have not market for providers to come. That's something I'm considering too, and first time I've seen it said so directly. While I'm sure I'll do more security tomorrow, I wanted to highlight one story that hit this weekend. The head of U.S. Cyber Command has confirmed that the U.S. military has taken offensive action to disrupt cyber criminal groups. 9 months ago, the government viewed ransomware attacks as the responsibility of law enforcement. That has changed, and a stated goal is now to impose costs. General Paul Nakasone would not detail operations, actions, nor targeted groups, but indicated that the country was on an upward trajectory. Why do we care? The U.S. government is starting to be more forward with its actions. It's one thing to suspect the attacks, and something entirely different to be open about what is warfare. The shift in approach is key. No longer is ransomware simply a matter of law enforcement. It's viewed now as an attack on the homeland, and the U.S. military is now openly acknowledging they are fighting back. Change happens slowly and in incremental steps, and here's a step in what feels like the right direction. Of course, change is rarely linear. Let's not miss the jobs data that came out late last week. The jobless rate fell from 4.2% to 4.6%, which is a notable swing for a single month. Unemployment was 6.7% in December, an improvement that took 3.5 years in the last cycle, from March 2014 to September 2017. In the age group 25 to 54, employment is nearly back to pre-COVID levels. The one disappointment was the number of new jobs added. While lower than expected, it could be evidence of a tight labor market. The consensus? This is a tight labor market. Workers are coming back, and a key question being asked is what kept them out. Was it a lack of childcare or fear of the coronavirus? Why do we care? There's more data to broadly indicate that workers have a lot more power now. That's the key reason we care, as technology providers are broadly continuing to grow, and many of the initiatives talked about on this show, such as business consulting, likely require new roles or training existing staff. One other thing. In the spirit of treating COVID as an accelerant, here's another data point supporting that. The recovery came fast too. So if you're considering trends, note that they appear to be moving a lot faster than previous cycles and data sets would have predicted. Use that insight for planning. Let's hit a few breaches. Planned Parenthood LA was hit with a ransomware attack in October, exposing info for 400,000 patients. The breach does not appear targeted, and the perpetrator is unknown. Colorado's Delta Montrose Electric Association is still struggling to recover from a devastating cyber attack last month that took down 90% of its internal systems and caused 25 years of historical data to be lost, per reporting in ZDNet. The company expects this week to begin accepting payments and resume billing, meaning a month-long billing outage. The company notes a good portion of their data was corrupted. The Cuba ransomware has been revealed by the FBI as compromising at least 49 organizations from U.S. critical infrastructure sectors. The FBI also added that this ransomware group had made over $40 million since it started targeting U.S. companies. The U.S. State Department has at least 9 employees with iPhones hacked by software from the NSO group. It's unknown who used the software, though the company says they only sell it to government organizations approved by the Israeli government. And while not a breach, a new report from analysis at Mandiant, formerly FireEye, show that Nobelium, most known for the SolarWinds breach, is still at it. They haven't slowed down, and now they're working with others too. Why do we care? Today's a bit tactical, although I'll raise the question that I spotted online in regards to Colorado's story. Why wasn't this particular story talked about more? My answer is that the breaches are too commonplace. There are too many to track for most consumers, and they generally all sound the same. That will continue to be a challenge to those trying to increase attention on security. I want to spend a bit of time on reporting in CIO Dive of Marriott International around the data breach from November 2018. Per a third quarter filing with the SEC this month, the company has spent $16 million related to recovery in the first 3 quarters of this year. During Q3 2021, Marriott spent $4 million related primarily to legal costs from the breach, with nothing recouped by insurance. In Q3 2020, the hotel company received $4 million in insurance recoveries. The company also reports an increase in its cyber insurance policy. In Q1 2019, the company noted data breach-related expenses had reached $44 million. Now, why do we care? I specifically used Marriott in an editorial this summer to discuss the impact of breaches and noted big companies simply write checks. It's apparently very much still true, and notably, the market doesn't seem upset by it. I checked their stock, the trends look good to me. For small companies, the reason to care is that a big company can absorb a whole lot more impact when the damage is viewed by that revenue to ransom ratio. Ransoms are smaller for smaller companies, yet have a much higher R to R ratio. When doing the analysis of the competitive threat of cybercriminals, speak in those terms. It's a risk calculation. I'd be surprised if those in IT were not aware of this, but Amazon Web Services had significant issues yesterday, which extended with ripple effects into today, including internet slowness. Reported to start at approximately 10:45 a.m., the AWS status page was updated around 6 p.m., indicating partial service restoration. Insider reported the culprit being a sudden increase in traffic that caused congestion across multiple network devices in Northern Virginia, the biggest region for AWS data centers. Outages were reported across services such as Disney+, Netflix, Amazon's own e-commerce store, Zoom, and much of Amazon's own internal warehouse systems and delivery services. Of note for MSPs was ConnectWise reporting regarding issues with chat, single sign-on, and managed email connector related to the AWS outage. Why do we care? Outages need to be unique for me to cover them. This one impacting Amazon's own physical goods delivery during the holidays seems like exactly that. This one feels worthy of note. Several MSPs noted the design concern of ConnectWise acting as middleman for SSO on their systems. That's my angle on why we care. Outages of cloud systems are something to be planned for, and graceful failover of business operations is something to plan for. Note I said business operations, not just technical ones. It was notable to me that while systems were offline, an airline website I was using gracefully redirected me to phone reservations versus the manual workaround efforts reported by MSPs trying to log into their back-end systems. The value is in the expertise of planning for the outage and handling it gracefully as much as the design of the system itself, which is why we care. Did you know Cisco helps managed services providers directly? Know about the Cisco Partner Program? Focused on helping partners combine managed services expertise and service creation with innovative Cisco technology and proven go-to-market resources. There's a program option for you. With provider pricing, MDF, and marketing resources, coupled with Cisco's leading technologies including Meraki, Duo, and Umbrella, learn more with the link right in the show notes. While I covered this story previously, it's broken on mainstream sites such as CNBC, Protocol, and IT Pro. Microsoft's push to raise prices with the new Commerce Experience for Office, or NCE, is a 20% raise in prices if a customer does not elect for a longer subscription. The IT Pro article focuses specifically on the hit to MSPs. While we're talking Microsoft 365 pricing, the company is offering customers who use pirated versions of the software 50% on subscriptions to switch to a genuine version. The message is sent to users if Microsoft detects the installed version is non-genuine. Why do we care? This round of mainstream coverage increases the likelihood of customer awareness if you hadn't already prepared your customers for this increase. I don't anticipate Microsoft will change direction on their plan. It doesn't mean if a provider objects, they shouldn't express themselves. It's more a statement of Microsoft's approach, which is not exclusive to them. Higher prices for flexibility, better prices with a commitment. I found Microsoft's appeal to software pirates intriguing too. They clearly believe there's enough reason to try and likely enough upside to justify the efforts. For me, there are pricing lessons here rather than reasons to be upset. On Tuesday, the Senate confirmed Jessica Rosenworcel's reappointment to the FCC and puts her in place to be the first permanent chair under President Biden and the first female chair in FCC history. On the other side of the building, the House passed the National Defense Authorization Act for 2020 and left out the cybersecurity incident reporting legislation. The passed bill does give CISA additional power in industrial control systems. Why do we care? Rosenworcel is expected to focus on broadband access, an issue that providers should very much care about. The NDAA is only one way cybersecurity reporting may be enacted to law. It was simply the first big opportunity. In my opinion, a delay rather than the end of the line. Tactical updates today, which is why we care. 1Password released some research linking the challenge of remote working to staff burnout, thus reducing attention to security guidance. Quoting ZDNet, according to the survey, burned out employees are more apathetic about workplace security measures and are 3 times more likely to ignore suggested best practices. Cybersecurity professionals are more burned out than other workers. The research suggests that 84% of security professionals feel burned out, compared with 80% of other workers. And when cybersecurity employees are burned out, they're more than likely to describe themselves as completely checked out and doing the bare minimum at work, something that 1 in 10 cybersecurity professionals described as their state of mind, compared with 1 in 20 of other employees. In research from CrowdStrike, the majority of global businesses believe supply chain attacks can become a significant threat within the next 3 years, with 45% experiencing at least one such attack in the last 12 months. Worldwide, 84% of enterprises express concern that third-party attacks could become a significant cyber threat over the next 3 years. And while I've covered law enforcement's actions against cybercriminals, would you believe they have their own justice system that includes the principles of a fair trial? In a blog from Analyst One, a dark web court is outlined. Dispute between groups, say one who purchases access to a compromised network and then it discovers it was previously sold, and thus asks for a refund, are managed via an arbitration system. Why do we care? Every time I dig into the culture of the criminals, I walk away a bit more impressed. It's that begrudging respect for an opponent who knows their stuff and finds exciting ways to solve problems for financial gain. That's the other side of the people relevancy today. Criminals have systems, and the defenders have burnout. It's why culture matters here. Addressing the issue is not just technology, but also people and process. It's my takeaway here. Operating under a constant state of stress isn't sustainable, driven by a protect all the things mentality. A short story of note to my government and government-adjacent listeners. Amazon Web Services has announced a new top-secret cloud region called AWS Top Secret West. The region provides additional geographic availability and resiliency of AWS cloud services for U.S. intelligence and defense agencies, including the CIA and NSA, to host, analyze, and run applications. It's the second location accredited for classified workloads that are air-gapped. While the company did not disclose the specific location, they noted it's over 1,000 miles away from AWS Top Secret East, located in Northern Virginia. This all from NextGov. Why do we care? I guess this is valuable tactical news for some listeners, probably mainly in the DC area. Broadly, I noted that cloud technologies could be used in an air-gapped way. It's likely unnecessary for the vast majority of both listeners and their customers, but isn't it good to know it's possible? New stats from the UN's International Telecommunications Union. The percentage of the global population using the internet surged from 54% to 63% between 2019 and 2021. There's an extensive urban and rural divide, 76% versus 39%, and age is a factor too. Africa is far behind at only 33% of the population using the internet versus at least 60% in every other region. 4G networks now reach 88% of the world's population. Why do we care? I noted this data and wanted to make sure I shared it. It's a bit about perspective. It's important to remember that not everyone is online, broadly across the world, but also in local communities. Access to digital technologies will continue to open up markets, even locally. It may be broadly consumer-driven, yet that still opens up growth for downstream customers and customers' customers. Just keep that in the back of our minds. Another romp through the world of work. Meta and Lyft employees have been told that while they are reopening offices in January and February, respectively, the option to work from home will still be on the table. Glassdoor released a report that predicts a walkback or reduction of location-based pay adjustments. That's among a landscape that Upwork's Freelance Forward survey indicates involves a lot more freelancing, contributing $1.3 trillion to the U.S. economy in 2021, up $100 million from 2020. The study also found that 59 million Americans performed freelance work in the past 12 months, representing 36%, or more than one-third, of the entire U.S. workforce. Pulling from Tech Republic, one of the interesting findings is that freelancing is growing among highly educated workers. Some 51% of post-grad workers did freelancing work, up 6% since 2020, while the share of high school graduates or less freelancing has declined from 37% in 2020 to 31% this year. Skilled remote freelancing also continues to grow in 2021. The research found that 53% of all freelancers provided professional services such as computer programming, marketing, IT, and business consulting in 2021, up from 50% in 2020. And related data coming out of the Boston Consulting Group, which found that 73% of worker respondents said they plan to switch positions in the next 2 to 3 years, while 40% are currently job hunting. Most, at 63%, said they were looking due to wanting better career opportunities in other roles, while the desire for a new challenge was at 49%, and feeling undervalued in their current role, 36%, as also significant contributing factors. Nearly all, 95%, wanted to work remotely, full or part-time. The capper to this segment, Bloomberg Businessweek's exploration of the world of consultancy around the chaos in the world of work and return to the office. A core premise is how fear, uncertainty, and doubt are catnip for consultants. A significant comparison, Y2K consulting. Why do we care? I did a webinar this week actually focused on the opportunity in the world of change of work. Well, I'm self-aware enough to say I'm one of those consultants exploring opportunity. There's confusion in this space, and thus there is opportunity. And it's also true that there's a lot of space for charlatans. My take, the two are not at odds. Just because something is not fully known doesn't mean organizations don't need help navigating it. The desire is a single answer. There isn't going to be a single answer. This space is a collision of people and technology, and thus why IT providers are in the mix and should be focused here. But searching for the one answer is an exercise in futility. The direction instead is to try, test, measure, and iterate, finding the unique solutions for each customer. And unique is why this is a good space for consultants. While I'm talking people today, I wanted to break this story out on its own, quoting extensively from ZDNet. A report by the European Commission's Joint Research Council warns that employee remote monitoring and surveillance tools could be severely damaging to relations unless balanced by putting power in workers' hands. Based on findings from some 400 articles, the JRC report found that workplace surveillance has grown more pervasive through the datafication of work, particularly with the expansion of algorithmic platforms used widely in the gig economy by companies like Uber, Deliveroo, and Amazon. Remote working during the pandemic has also seen an increase in monitoring technologies, some of which, like email monitoring, biometrics, wearables, and webcam and screen recording, prompt a very strong sense of privacy invasiveness among workers. Work-from-home orders might have led some organizations to implement employee monitoring tools arbitrarily as a solution to the management challenge it presented. The researcher notes that technology is not a replacement for proper management techniques. If you're a manager in an organization who is trying to scramble to work from home suddenly, and you've been given technology that tells you what your colleagues are doing at their desks, and take pictures of them, that might be seen as a surrogate for the performance side of it. It's not. Why do we care? I'd spotted, and while I'm linking to it I didn't cover, a piece about automation driving employee satisfaction. Instead, this research is about the negative impact of that technology, and I highlighted it in the last piece too. That expert quote, "That's the insight. It's about people management, not management via technology. There's the sweet spot. Play there." Thanks for tuning in to This Week in the Business of Tech. Shows come out each week, pulling together the daily podcast. If you like this show, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. The content is here because of supporters like you. If you want access to shows early, answers to your questions, and private interactions, join our Patreon. It's pay what you want. You decide what the content is worth. Join at patreon.com/MSPradio. Patreons also get access to the written versions of every story as they come out. If you want the stories right away, you can get them on the daily podcast. Find The Business of Tech on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or wherever you get your shows. Subscribe links are at businessof.tech. Talk to you again next week.